answer GC Advanced Level ICT Paper 3, June 2025. Okay, I will answer just group 1. Okay, this paper is supposed to be answered in 2 hours, so we'll try as much as possible to minimize the time it's going to take for us to do the exercise. So we'll start with database tax A. So tax A student is presented with a flat file containing meeting details as displayed below. It contains a summary of financial situation of mates from a quarter meeting in Bamenda who have moved to different towns in Cameroon. The activities of this meeting are shown in table 1 below. So we can see the table here. MID represents member ID, MAD represents member address, T type is transaction type, TID is transaction ID, and O date is operation date. So the student decided to normalize the flat file into 3 tables or relations, namely member, transaction, and operation. So the first question says, from the table structures above, develop the member table in the space below. So member table has member ID, member name, and member address. As we can see here, those are the 3 fields we are going to have when developing. So developing simply means that we'll have a table with records and we'll get all the records from this table over here. Okay, so without wasting time, let's go into Word. In Word, we'll just create something similar. We'll draw something. We'll come up with a table of 3 columns and maybe 8 rows. Okay, 8 rows. I'll make it fit. Okay, so the first row will be MID. Second is MNAME, and the last is M address. So let's make the heading bold. Oh my god. So we make the heading bold. Let me make it larger so you can clearly see. So the first MID, if we come here, we are going to see MID the first. Now MID is the primary key of the member table. So it means that the data found in these fields, MID must be unique. Okay, it must be unique since it's the primary key. So we'll start with M1, and M10. M10 has M name Mbong and M address Boya. So M10 Mbong and Boya. So we'll just type it the way it is. So that's how you are supposed to type. That's what you're supposed to type on your paper or write on your paper. So I have Mbong and Mbong. The address is Boya. So I'll move to the next. The next, what do we have? We have L05. Maybe I'll zoom. Let me zoom the table so that we can clearly see how it looks like. This is our table here. So we have L05 Lyonga and Bamenda as address. Okay, so that is it. So let's move. Sorry, let's move here. We have L05, which is Lyonga, and address is Bamenda. Move to the next. So the next is still M10, but M10 we remember I said that MID is the primary key, so it's not supposed to have repeated data. So since we already took information about Mbong, we'll move to the next member, which is O20, Otia, and the address is Womb. So let's go. So it's O20, name is Otia, address is Womb. So We move. We'll go to the next. The next is O15. Okay, O15, Umar and Garwa. O15, Umar, Garwa. So let's move. Next, after O15, we still have L05, which has already been entered. So we'll move to S04. Yes, Suzanne and address is Douala. S04. S04, Suzanne, and address is Douala. Okay, so after that, we'll move to O20, which was already entered. So we'll skip it. L12, Linus and Betwa. So L12, Linus and Betwa. Okay, so move on. Let's check. After L12, we have G11, Gertrude, and address is Yaoundé. G11. So we have G11, Gertrude, and Yaoundé is the address of Gertrude. So next is M10, which has already been entered. So we move to T07, Tita, and Marwa. So T07, Tita, and is coming. The address is Marwa. So that is it. So we have answered question one. So you are supposed to draw something like this in question one. Okay, this question. So you draw something like that. I've done it in a machine. Just draw it here. Okay, just do it here. Okay. So now we'll move to the next question. Question two. Give reasons why the table above is not normalized. Well, we have two reasons why the table is not normalized. Okay, so when we look at this table, okay, when we look at this table, I can't identify a primary key. Why? Because all the records, when we look at all the records for each field or column, you'll see that we have repeated data. We have repeated data. Okay, so it means there is no primary key. That's the first reason I think this table. The reason is that no primary key has been identified. And when I talk of no primary key helps to identify the second point, which is there is data redundancy. So, with the primary key would have helped. So these are the two reasons. There's no primary key and there's also redundancy. But now, since we have to write that in such a way that uh, anybody can understand us. Okay, for us to do that, maybe I will explain more. Okay, I will explain more. So for me to explain more, what I can say is that first there is data redundancy in some columns, like for instance MID, which we could consider that it is a primary key, but now we see data redundancy. So that's one of the reasons why it is not normalized. Number two is that some fields depend only on part of the primary key, that is partial dependency. So there is no, even though we have identified MID that is supposed to be a primary key, but because we have redundancy, some fields depend only on part of the primary key, so which is a partial dependency. Okay, so those are the two reasons. We move to the next question now. It says state the key for each of the tables. So the primary key in this table is MIZ. The primary key here is MIZ. Okay, the primary key in transaction is TIZ. Looks like the size is too large. Maybe I'll make it 15 for what I have here, so that I can enter the primary key here, which is TD. Okay, for operation now, well, the primary key will simply be the two primary keys we have above. So it's going to be MIZ. That's going to be a composite key. Composite key will be MIZ and TIZ. So that is it. Now state the appropriate data type for MIZ. When we look at this table here, okay, MIZ has characters and numbers mixed, so it is a text. So MIZ is going to be, the data type will be text. Okay, and date of course is date/time. Okay, so we'll move to the next question. Using an appropriate database management system, create a database called finance DB containing the three tables defined above. Populate all the tables taking data from table 1 above. Okay, so to do that, we'll use our database management system is going to be Access. So we'll use Access, we'll open Access, and we'll click on blank database. We'll give the name of the database, which in this case the set is Finance DB. So we'll save Finance DB in our candidate folders found on desktop. Okay, that's what is supposed to be done. Okay, so we'll move to desktop. We'll go to our desktop, as you can see. Go to desktop, and then we'll look for candidate folder. So this is the one. So we already have the database, but I will just cancel everything. Okay, so this is it. So the first thing we'll do is we have to create all these three tables. The three tables we have here in our question paper, they gave us the relational schema. So this is it here. So we'll start with member table, which has member ID, member name, and member address. So to create a table is simple. You just click on view here, design, and they'll ask for the name of the table, which in this case is member. Okay, this is member. So member has MID as primary key and is of type short text. Member name also is of type text, and then lastly we have member address. Okay, which is also of type text. So we've created member. We'll close and click on yes. We'll do the same for the second table. Click on view, and we'll give the name. The second table is transaction. Okay, transaction, and transaction, we can clearly see it here. It has TID, T type, and amount. TID, what's TID? It's text. It's not number. Okay, it's not number. It's text. Why? Because with text we have some characters like 00 that do appear before. So it's supposed to be text and not number. Okay, and not number. Because if it was number, it would have just appeared 1, 3, and not with zeros before. Okay, so it is text. The data type for TID is text. T type is text also, and then amount is number. So TID, the primary key, it's going to be text, uh, uh, the what again? T type, yes, T type is also text, and then lastly amount. Amount is number, okay, number. So that is it for this table. We close and we save. Yes. Okay, let's move to the last table. We'll create the last table, which is a junction. Okay, we'll create the last table, which is a junction table to the other two, and it is called what's the name? It is called operation. It has the primary keys of the other two tables and then audit. Okay, so we have operation, which has the two primary keys. I will first of all remove a primary key in an attribute. You click here. So the first is MID, which we said was text. So text, and the second is TID, which is also text, and then lastly audit. Audit is date slash time. That's what we agreed. So for this now, since it's a composite, they are composite keys, we'll select both of them and then we'll click on primary key so that they are made all primary keys. Once we've done that, we'll click on yes again. So next question. So it says that we are to populate all the tables taking data from table 1 above. So for this, maybe I'll just do the record for one. I'll just show you how to do a record. Like for instance, this. I don't have time, so I'll just take what I had typed here. I will select this data, copy it, and paste it there. I'll copy and then go to access, click over here, and paste. Voila, and click on yes. So it has done the record for me. Okay. So the next record you are supposed to do is on the transaction. You are not supposed to populate operation before transaction. Okay. So I'm not going to waste any time, okay, on populating these other two. So I will pause and then do the work in the background. Then we'll come back later. Just like I said I'm going to populate. That was to just reduce the time it's going to take for us to populate all the tables. But now I just want to let you know that to do that, it's just quite easy as we did for member. What you do is that you have these fields, TID, T type, and amount. Remember, TID is unique. So what you do is you go to this table here. What is the first TID? We have 001. Now, what is the T type? Save. And now, what is the amount? 500. You do that. You move to the next C. The next TID is 003. What is the T type? Loan. And what is the amount? 10,000. You move to the next. Just like that. You don't repeat any information. Okay. Since TID is a primary key. Okay. Once you are done with this table, you can now move to operation table. Why are we doing operation table at the last? Because it is a junction table, and junction tables are normally supposed to contain data that comes from the other tables. You cannot use what you have not created. So you need to first of all create the other two tables, you populate them, and then the data from the two tables now will help you to populate the last table operation, because it has information from the two other tables. It has the MID, which is coming from the member table, and TID, that is coming from transaction table. So once you populated this, then I think you have answered the question. We move to the next question now. So our next question is, draw ER diagram for the database in the space below and indicate the cardinalities in the diagram. Okay, so we and also implement the relationship in a database created. So to implement it, we go to database tools, and then you click on relations. So let's create the relationship. You select the table, add on the board, as you can see. You select, you add, and then lastly you add this. So now, since this is a junction table, we can just put it in between them, and then we'll take the primary key of the member table, we drop it on the attribute of which is a foreign key in this operation table. We drop on that, we have MID, then we tick these three. The first is to enforce referential integrity. The second is to cascade update related fields, and the third is to cascade delete related fields. Okay, so we click on create, and voila, there is a relationship. So we do the same. We take the primary key TID here and drop on the foreign key TID here. Voila, and then we tick these three. And make sure that when you are creating this relationship diagram, there is not supposed to be any table open. Okay, if you do that, you have issues. It will not work. Okay, so we have created the relationship. Now, from this relationship diagram, you can come up with your entity relationship diagram. Okay, you can come up with it. But now, for some candidates, you may just decide to snap this and then put in your candidate folder, where it will be used as evidence. If you don't want to draw, it can also be used as evidence. Okay, so you press to do that, I'll snap the screen. Okay, to snap the screen, you use print screen button, that's PRT-SCR, that's print screen, or you use snapping tool. Okay, so I will select where I want to snap. This is what I need. So once I've done that, it has copied, and then I can just come now in my Word document and paste. Okay, this is it, paste. So that is it for that question. We will move to create a query to display members who have taken loans. Okay, to create a query, this is what we are supposed to do. I'll save this relationship diagram. I'll go to menu create, and then I'll move to query wizard. Okay, so there are some particular fields we need to use in our query. They said create a query to display members. And when we talk of members, we are talking about members name. So we need to see the members name. So you will move to members table, you will take the members name. Okay, that's the first field we need. And then the query says that we need all those who have taken loans, and that you need to include the amount of the loan and the date of the loan. So to do that, we'll go to amount. Where can amount be found? I think it's in transaction. Voila. Under transaction table, I'll take amount. As you have seen, I just clicked on it, it went, or you double click. If you want to bring it back, okay, oh, it selected, or it was supposed to be this. So if you double click, it will move to the right. Okay, you go to transaction, you double click on amount, it moves to the right. So the last will be loan date, which is operation date here. So double click, and now we have all the fields we need for our query. So we'll just move, and then we'll give the name of the query, and they said the query is called loan F. So with that, we'll click on finish, and voila. So this is our query, the result. So we can see the names and the amount and the date they took the loan. So that is it for our um, lesson. Okay. So what we'll do now is that in the next video we'll answer section B. Okay. So we are done with section A. See you in section B where we'll deal with spreadsheets. Thank you very much. And please, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please do that so that each time we upload very important lessons or videos, uh, you will get them directly. You will be informed, you will be notified about that. Okay, so thank you very much and see you in our next video.